Guest to talk about all of this, Larry Hogan, former Republican governor of Maryland and honorary chair of An America United. Governor, thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Nice to see you in person.
Great to be here.
So what do you make of Donald Trump going to court? I mean, do you think that there is political advantage for him in showing up?
I think he thinks so. Obviously, he's very good about messaging and getting out there and trying to argue his case in the media. I'm not sure it's great. I'm sure his lawyers probably didn't give him the advice to be there. I don't think he had to be. But, there's no question that he's trying to win the court of public opinion, and he has been successful in rallying people to his defense, and he's trying to get those arguments in.
You think there's ever a line where it's sort of crossed, right? You're talking about a clerk here, right? The judge is a big boy, and what I mean by that is, of course, he's, a high-profile position, et cetera. Judges, prosecutors kind of have to accept to some degree that they're going to get criticized. What degree is a separate question, but a law clerk, because she's whispering in the judge's ear as law clerks do, getting targeted, anyone you think going to be bothered by that on the Trump side?
Well, that's the question. I think it probably does bother a lot of people that think it's beyond the pale and it's taken it a step too far. But I'm not sure that his base is going to react that way. Whatever crazy stuff he says, they seem to continue to support him. But I think the judge certainly didn't like it much, and now he's placed this limited gag order on him.
I think Trump is really taking this case personally, right? This is about his success, about his identity, right?
It seems as if he's taking this one much more personally, and it's either about his whole ego about how much money he has and how successful he is. It goes to the core of who Donald Trump is, but he's also potentially going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah,
which he's not happy about.
I want to ask you about Kevin McCarthy in a moment, but I want to bring in Ankush Kardori, former federal prosecutor, contributing editor for New York Magazine. Ankush, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Legally, it's starting to feel like Trump is almost daring the judge to impose this gag order and that the judge obliged.
Yes, that's exactly my read on the situation ever since yesterday when he began this sort of fusillade of commentary, which is extremely unwise as a legal matter. It's a very stupid, bad legal strategy, but it is apparently a political strategy. I've been thinking like he's practically asking the judge to do this to him. He maybe even wants the judge to do it to him so that he can now go complain that, he's being silenced while these government folks are coming after him. It's hard for me to otherwise divine any sort of logic to the behavior here because it really is beyond the pale to be attacking staff.
Real quick, let me ask you, what happens now if he violates it? What happens if he does something again?
I would imagine, if I were the judge at least, I would be thinking about escalating financial sanctions. Right. It's the only thing Trump seems to care about. And it's well within, I expect, the court's authority to start to sort of begin to issue some graduating sort of sanctions if he just keeps going.
Yeah, that's why when people say, oh, what are they going to do? Throw him in? No, they're going to hit him with the money. Ankush, stay with us. We'll get back to you on Hunter Biden in court in just a moment. Meanwhile, a wild day in the House of Representatives. Kevin McCarthy is no longer Speaker of the House. He lost his post by a vote of 216 to 210 after Florida Republican Matt Gaetz brought a motion to basically boot him. 6 far-right Republicans joined with Democrats to kick him out, throwing the House into chaos. But just as the case during the 15-vote free-for-all back in January that made McCarthy Speaker in the first place, this also seems like an opportunity lost for Democrats, particularly the moderates. Maybe it's both parties. The Democrats are only too happy to join with the far-right congressman to oust McCarthy. I can't help think there is an opportunity for them to work with moderates. And since we have a Republican moderate here in studio with us, Larry Hogan, what is the opportunity here? As a practical matter, how do the moderates get this done?
Well, look, this is just proof that Washington is completely dysfunctional. Congress has a 15% approval.
Yep.
These handful of far-right, extreme Republicans came up with this ridiculous motion to throw chaos into the Congress, and the Democrats sat back and watched it happen. Look, overwhelming majority of Republicans wanted McCarthy as their speaker. It's a handful of nuts, and we gave them all the attention. But these two cases coming together today, it's sucking all the oxygen out of the room where there's an opportunity for us to talk about issues that matter and try to bring people together to solve problems. Instead, it's just crazy. And none of the other candidates who are talking about issues are getting any attention or traction because of this stuff.
Is there any hope, though, that, let's say moderate Democrats reach across? I wonder if I'm living on Fantasy Island, right? Where I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if moderate Democrats reached across the aisle and talked to moderate Republicans and said, hey, guys, if we get the votes together here, we can pick our own speaker.
I think there was some attempt to do that. It was just unsuccessful. But there's a group of moderates in the middle, the Problem Solvers Caucus. It's 32 Democrats, 32 Republicans. It falls under the No Labels group. And they were trying to put that together. But the Democratic caucus whipped the votes to stand to vote all against. And the Republicans couldn't muster the handful of, wackos and get them in line.
Yeah.
So I'm still hopeful, but it's really showing that we can't govern. And it's
so frustrating.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah. This is what Kevin McCarthy said this morning about Democrats reaching out.
What are the Democrats asking you for? As you try to build support, I imagine, from Democrats in this case, I imagine they're going to try to drive a hard bargain.
You know what? They haven't asked for anything. I'm not going to provide anything.
That's the problem. I'm not going to provide anything, right? I mean, why say that?
Well, it's absurd. So, they were hitting him. Gates was saying, you're going to make a deal with the Democrats. Well, actually, Gates was the worst thing to happen to the Republican Party. He sided. The handful of nuts sided with the Democrats to oust McCarthy. McCarthy, look, people are elected to Congress to try to find consensus and to get things done. I was a Republican governor in the bluest state in America with 75% Democrats in both houses, and we got things done. But to say you can't work with the other party to come together is absurd. It's not why people are supposed to be sent to Washington.
The moderates have to step forward. I view this as an opportunity. I really do.
It's
just
a
don't
missed
think
opportunity.
That's right. That's what I'm worried about, is that it's going to be a missed opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'm still hoping we can come up with a solution, but it's pretty much of a disaster today.
Larry Hogan, good to see you in
Dan.
person.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.